Let's be real for a second. Have you ever had one of those days? You know the ones. You finish work, you're exhausted, your back hurts, and you realize that even if you work every single day for the next 30 years, you're still never going to own that house with the big backyard. Inflation is up, rents are insane, and that American dream your parents talked about? It feels more like a myth than a plan. So, what do? You open your phone, you see an ad for a pair of sneakers, or a high-end espresso machine, or maybe just a really expensive dinner, and you think, whatever, I can't afford a house anyway, so why not buy the shoes? That, right there, is signal number one. We call it doomspending. It's a psychological survival mechanism, but a deadly one for your bank account. When the future looks bleak, your brain stops caring about financial peace in 10 years and starts screaming for a dopamine loop right now. It's the ultimate mentalidad de pobreza trap. You're trading your long-term freedom for a temporary hit of neurochemicals, just to numb the fact that you feel like you're falling behind. The irony? The more you spend to feel better about being broke, the more broke you stay. It's a cycle, a loop. And the worst part is, the internet is designed to make you feel like this is normal. They call it self-care. I call it a financial death spiral. Now, let's talk about a silent killer. It doesn't scream like a massive debt. It whispers. It's called lifestyle creep. Think back to your first real job. Remember that paycheck? It wasn't much, but somehow, you survived. You ate ramen, you shared an apartment, and you were fine. But then, you got a raise, then a promotion, and suddenly, you needed a better car. You needed the premium gym membership. You needed to shop at the organic grocery store where an apple costs $5. Here's the trap. Your income went up 20%, but your expenses, they went up 30%. This is the second signal of a poverty mentality. It's the belief that your self-worth is tied to your outward consumption. We live in a world of hustle culture, where if you aren't upgrading your life every 6 months, you feel like you're failing. But look closely. Are you actually getting richer? Or are you just becoming a more expensive version of a broke person? Social media has turned this into an elite sport. You see a creator on a private jet, or a friend posting their aesthetic kitchen remodel, and your brain triggers a FOMO response that feels like physical pain. To stop that pain, you upgrade. You're running on a treadmill that's moving faster and faster, and you're terrified of what happens if you stop. You've traded your financial peace for a collection of monthly subscriptions and a car lease that keeps you awake at night. You aren't building wealth, you're just building a gold-plated cage. And the bars of that cage, they're made of the things you thought would make you happy. And finally, the third signal. This one is the most dangerous because it actually feels like a virtue. It's the belief that working harder is the only way out. We've been fed this lie since we were kids, right? Just put your head down, grind, and the money will follow. But look around. The hardest working people you know, are they the wealthiest? Usually, no. They're the most tired. The poverty mentality keeps you focused on trading hours for dollars. You're so busy working for money that you never have time to make your money work for you. It's a subtle shift in perspective, but it's the difference between a life of freedom and a life of servitude. When you're in this mindset, you view every dollar as something to be spent or saved, but never as a seed. Think about it. While you're stressing over the price of eggs, the people who actually have financial peace are looking for assets. They aren't thinking about how to survive the week. They're thinking about how to own a piece of the infrastructure of the world. If your only plan to get rich is to work more hours, you have a math problem. There are only 24 hours in a day. You are capped. The poverty mentality makes you fear the unknown. It makes you stay in that soul-crushing job because it's safe. But is it? In a world of AI, outsourcing, and mass layoffs, is trading your time really the safe bet? True wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about how much you own that generates value while you sleep. If you don't find a way to decouple your income from your time, you will be a slave to the clock, forever. And that is the hardest pill to swallow. And finally, the third signal. This one is the most dangerous because it actually feels like a virtue. It's the belief that working harder is the only way out. We've been fed this lie since we were kids, right? Just put your head down, grind, and the money will follow. But look around. The hardest working people you know, are they the wealthiest? Usually, no. They're the most tired. The poverty mentality keeps you focused on trading hours for dollars. You're so busy working for money that you never have time to make your money work for you. It's a subtle shift in perspective, but it's the difference between a life of freedom and a life of servitude. When you're in this mindset, you view every dollar as something to be spent or saved, but never as a seed. Think about it. While you're stressing over the price of eggs, the people who actually have financial peace are looking for assets. They aren't thinking about how to survive the week. They're thinking about how to own a piece of the infrastructure of the world. The problem is, the hustle culture has romanticized the struggle. We wear our burnout like a badge of honor. We post photos of our late-night coffee and our tired eyes as if that's the goal. But let's be honest, if hard work was the secret to wealth, every single mother working 3 jobs would be a billionaire by now. It's not just about the effort, it's about the leverage. And if you don't understand how to use leverage, you are just a very busy person staying exactly where you are. You're spinning your wheels in the mud and calling it progress. Now, I need you to listen closely because this one might sting a little. The fourth signal is when you start building your entire identity around the things you can't control. We've all heard the conversations at the bar, on Reddit, at the dinner table. It's always about how the system is rigged, how the billionaires stole the future, or how it's impossible to get ahead in this economy. And look, here's the thing. You aren't wrong. The housing market is a mess. Inflation is eating your paycheck. The wealth gap is wider than ever. These are facts. But here is the psychological trap. When you focus 100% of your energy on how unfair the world is, you are unconsciously giving yourself permission to fail. It's a defense mechanism. If the game is rigged, then it's not your fault that you didn't save any money this month, right? It's the Fed's fault. It's the government's fault. It's your boss's fault. This creates a sense of learned helplessness. You stop looking for the small gaps, the tiny opportunities, the side doors that are still open. You become a spectator of your own downfall. The poverty mentality loves a good villain. It makes you feel righteous in your struggle. But being right about the economy won't pay your bills. Being right about corporate greed won't fund your retirement. Successful people acknowledge the system is broken, and then they spend every waking hour figuring out how to work around it anyway. They don't wait for the world to become fair, because they know the world has never been fair. If your primary financial activity is complaining, you've already lost. You've traded your power for a sense of moral superiority. And unfortunately, the bank doesn't accept moral superiority as a mortgage payment. There's a massive difference between being frugal and just being cheap. And honestly, most people with a poverty mentality are the latter. Being cheap is a mindset of scarcity. It's when you spend 3 hours driving across town to save $5 on gas. You saved $5, but you wasted 3 hours of your life. The math doesn't add up. You're valuing your time at, what? $2 an hour? That is a signal that you don't believe your time is worth anything. Frugality is about efficiency. It's about spending money where it matters and cutting it where it doesn't. But being cheap? Being cheap is about fear. It's the fear that there will never be enough. So you hoard pennies while the dollars fly out the window. Think about it. How many times have you bought the cheapest version of something, only for it to break in 2 months? Then you have to buy it again and again. You think you're saving money, but you're actually paying a poverty tax. Poor people buy the cheapest boots and have to replace them every year. Rich people buy the best boots and keep them for a decade. In the long run, the cheap person spent 3 times more. When you are obsessed with saving at the expense of investing in quality, you are telling your brain that you aren't worth the good stuff. You are training yourself to live in a world of junk. Stop counting the cents in your grocery bill if it means you're too exhausted to think about your career strategy. You're focused on the crumbs, while the bakery is on fire. If your goal is to have financial peace, you have to stop thinking about how to not spend and start thinking about how to allocate. Big difference. The sixth signal is a quiet one. It's a whisper in the back of your head that says, "I'll start someday. I'll start investing when I get that raise. I'll fix my budget when the kids are older. I'll look into my 401k when life feels less chaotic." Here's the cold, hard truth. Life is always going to be chaotic. The perfect time is a ghost. It's a fairy tale we tell ourselves so we can sleep better at night while our future is literally eroding. People with a poverty mentality view the future as a place where things just happen to them. They wait for a windfall, a tax refund, or a stroke of luck. But wealth? Wealth isn't something that happens to you. It's something you build, brick by brick, while it's still raining outside. Every day you wait to get your finances in order, you aren't just losing money. You're losing the most powerful force in the universe, time. In the world of finance, we call it compound interest. But psychologically, it's about momentum. When you say someday, what you're actually saying is, my current comfort is more important than my future freedom. You're choosing a dopamine loop of procrastination over the financial peace of knowing you're covered. Stop waiting for the stars to align. The stars don't care about your bank account. The economy doesn't care about your plans. If you don't take control of the steering wheel right now, you're just a passenger in a car that's headed toward a cliff, hoping that someone else will step on the brakes for you. Spoiler alert, no one is coming to save you. The seventh signal, and probably the one that keeps most Americans awake at 3:09 a.m., is what I call high-interest loyalty. It's that moment when you stop seeing your credit card balance as a fire that needs to be put out, and you start seeing it as just another monthly bill. You know the feeling. You look at your statement, you see that 24% interest rate, and you just shrug. You pay the minimum amount, and you move on. You've become comfortable in the cage. This is a psychological trap designed by people much smarter than you and me. They want you to think in terms of monthly payments, not total cost. Can I afford $60 a month? That's the wrong question. The real question is, why am I paying $3,000 for a TV that only costs $1,000? When you have a poverty mentality, you view debt as a tool for consumption. You use tomorrow's labor to pay for today's dopamine. You're literally stealing from your future self and paying a massive fee for the privilege of doing it. Think about the math. If you're carrying a balance with 20% interest and you're trying to invest in the stock market to get 8% back, you aren't an investor. You're a leaky bucket. You're trying to fill a pool while there's a massive hole in the bottom. But it's more than just math. It's about submission. When you owe money, you aren't free to quit that job you hate. You aren't free to take risks. You aren't free to say no. The poverty mentality makes you a loyal customer to the banks. You're working 40 hours a week. But the first 10 hours? Those don't belong to you. Those belong to the credit card company. You're a modern-day sharecropper, and you're thanking them for the opportunity. It's time to stop being loyal to the people who are getting rich off your impatience. The eighth and final signal is overcomplicating the solution. You spend weeks watching videos like this one. You follow 50 different finance gurus. You listen to podcasts about crypto, gold, and real estate. You've become an expert in information, but a novice in execution. This is a classic symptom of the poverty mentality. We use research as a way to avoid the pain of starting. We think that if we find the perfect secret strategy, the work will be easier. But here's the secret the gurus won't tell you. Personal finance is 10% math and 90% behavior. You don't need a complex algorithm. You need to spend less than you make and invest the difference in boring long-term things. The poverty mentality loves complexity because it gives you an excuse to stay still. Oh, it's too complicated right now. I need to learn more about the market. No, you don't. You need to stop buying things you can't afford. You need to kill that credit card debt. And you need to start today. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. And if you're here for entertainment, Netflix is cheaper. If you're here for freedom, it's time to stop being a student of the problem and start being the architect of the solution. If you're ready to stop being a loyal customer to the system, I want you to do one thing. Don't just like this video. Actually do something. Look at your last 3 bank statements. Find one dopamine loop expense you can cut, and move that money to a savings or investment account before the sun goes down. And if you want to keep deconstructing the psychological traps that are keeping you broke, hit that subscribe button. Join the Psych and Sense community. We aren't here to give you get-rich-quick schemes. We're here to help you reclaim your brain so you can reclaim your life. Stop surviving, start building. I'll see you in the next one.